Shalom, shalom. Here's why you don't know the truth. Don't shoot the messenger. Those who will accept it will want to hear more. And I have a lot to say. And I will say it how God wants me to say it. But if you don't believe it, I'm not offended. I just view you as you are, as God views you, as an individual who has rejected the Father and the Son. I've been holding back this article for some time. To be honest, I wanted to see the actions of some. This mainly refers to those in charge who have the authority to withhold the truth from being heard, but not by divine right. So this article will start off good. You will feel happy about some of the things that I write here, which you have undoubtedly heard before. However, when I get to the main points of this discourse, you may not be smiling. I promise to let you down easy. So let's begin with something that Yahushua has said. In Luke 21:19 through 24, Yahushua, who some call Jesus, says, "In your patience possess ye your souls, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled." Here we have Yahushua, and excuse me, I will be calling him Yahushua here on out, revealing things that can be found in the Old Testament, the Hebrew scriptures. Yahushua reveals things that Moses and the prophets understood, things that Yahuwah gave them to write about concerning things found in the teaching, that is, the teaching of Moses, the oral Torah. In Yahushua's discourse to his disciples, he is laying out a summary of the things that were to come. The first of these is the destruction of the temple. Though it would be almost 40 years before the stones that he said would not be on top of one another, it would indeed happen. So it should not be hard to believe that we are also led away captive, or they were also led away captive in all nations. It most certainly should not be a surprise that Jerusalem is being trodden down by the Gentiles, the nations, either. Christians couldn't see these events because their leaders couldn't point them out, even after reading the verses repeatedly. When you are blind, you are blind. When you still have a veil over your eyes, you can't remove it with strength, not by your own strength. God must remove it. Some may say, I have leaders who are pointing out to me the truth. I can confidently tell you that the Yahudim in the time of Yahushua also believed that they were hearing the truth before Yahushua's arrival. So I'm not at all impressed with what you think. I'll go as far as giving you congratulations for finally understanding that our ancestors were the sons of Jacob, the people whom God collectively called Israel. but that is all. Aside from that fact, you still seem to be uncertain about your next steps. Every nation has taken the sons of Jacob, the house of Israel, into captivity. You see that happening in stages. It took place in Spain, Portugal, the Arab slave trade in parts of Africa, back to Palestine, Italy, the Caucasus area, China, India, all of Europe, the southern part of the Americas, the Caribbean islands, Mexico, North America, and Canada. Sounds like four corners of the earth to me. Sounds like all nations. Yahushua said that it would happen this way. No other group of people on earth, and I repeat this with confidence, there is no other group of people on earth except for those genetically related to African Americans that can claim that their ancestors have experienced this type of event. So let me show you scriptures where Moses and the prophets speak about this time. In Deuteronomy 31 through 4, Moses wrote this. So it shall be when all of these things have come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you call them to mind in all nations where the Lord your God has banished you. And that is happening today. And you return to the Lord your God and obey him with all your heart and soul, according to all that I command you today, and you and your sons. Then Yahuwah Elohim will restore you from captivity and have compassion on you, and will gather you again from all the peoples where Yahuwah your Elohim has scattered you. If your outcasts are at the ends of the earth, from there Yahuwah your Elohim will gather you, and from there he will bring you back. Look at what Moses wrote in Deuteronomy 28. He speaks the same thing, and this is a part of the curses in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. Moreover, Yahuwah will scatter you among all people from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone, which you and your fathers have not known. Among those nations you shall find no rest, and there will be no resting place for the sole of your foot. But there Yahuwah will give you a trembling heart, failing of eyes, and despair of soul. So your life shall hang in doubt before you, and you will be in dread night and day, and shall have no assurance of your life. In the morning you shall say, would that it were evening. And at evening you will say, would that it were morning, because of the dread of your heart, which you dread, and for the sight of your eyes, which you will see. Deuteronomy 28, verse 64 through 67. Now that someone has pointed out a few things, it doesn't seem as far-fetched that those so-called Africans who were taken captive and placed in chattel slavery around the world are the same group of people that Moses and the prophets are writing about. Let's take a look at more. For thus says Yahuwah, single out with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Proclaim, give praise, and say, O Yahuwah, save your people, the remnant of Israel. And I've bolded the remnant of Israel. Behold, I am bringing them from the north country, and I will gather them from the remote parts of the earth. Among them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and she who is in labor with child together, a great company. They will return here. With weeping they will come, and by supplication I will lead them. I will make them walk by streams of water on a straight path in which they will not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. I've bolded that just to make mention. Hear the word of Yahuwah, O nations, and declare in the coastlands afar off, and say, He who scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd keeps his flock. For the Lord has ransomed Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of him who was stronger than he. They will come and shout for joy in the height of Zion, that is back in the land of Israel, the mount in Jerusalem. And they will be radiant over the bounty of the Lord, of Yahuwah, over the grain and the new wine and the oil, and over the young of the flock and the herd. And their life will be like a watered garden. Right now, their life is like a droughted desert in the land of their captivity. But when they go back to the land, their life will be like a watered garden, and they will never languish again. Jeremiah 31:7 through 12. There are a few things that I want to point out here in Jeremiah 31:7 through 12, like a moray that has some level of sense. I will point these things out one by one. Number one, I've bolded the part that says the remnant of Israel. I did that to show you that God will only save a remnant and not all of Israel. I will show you why later in this article. The next thing I bolded was that place where God speaks of gathering his people from the ends of the earth, as Deuteronomy 28:64-67 speaks about, and as Deuteronomy 30 verses 1 through 4. The next thing I bolded, which no pastor or moray can explain to you, is why God calls Israel and Ephraim his firstborn son. You may say, how? Well, let's go back to it. He says in verse 7, Oh, save your people, the remnant of Israel. Well, in Exodus, God called Israel his firstborn son. In verse 9, it says, For I am a father to Israel. Who is Israel? His firstborn son. And Ephraim is my firstborn son. Therefore, naturally, those with misguided thinking will try to explain this, and they will mislead many people. Since I'm the one bringing the statement up, it is probably best to wait for me to explain it to you. It's safer that way. The next thing that I bolded was to show you who will gather Israel. That is, the one who scattered him will gather him. Any personal attempts to return to the land are simply misguided efforts. You may be one who is outside of the remnant that will return. The last thing I bolded was the ecstatic joy that will overwhelm the remnant of Israel when they are returned to the land after God redeems them from their captivity around the world. Jeremiah has certainly written extensively about our captivity around the world, drawing from the writings of Moses. He says, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Then I will enter into judgment with them there on behalf of my people and my inheritance, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and they have divided up my land. They have also cast lots for my people, traded a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Moreover, what are you to me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the regions of Philistia? Are you rendering me a recompense? But if you do recompense me swiftly and speedily, I will return your recompense on your head," which simply means that there is nothing that you can do to recompense for taking God's people into captivity. "Since you have taken my silver and my gold and brought my precious treasures to your temples and sold the sons of Judah and Jerusalem to the Greeks, that is, to those in America and those European countries that took the so-called Africans from the lands where they were dispersed and brought them into captivity around the world in order to remove them far from their territory. Behold, I am going to arouse them from the place where you have sold them." And when he says he's going to arouse them, he's saying that he's going to wake them up from the place where they were sold and return your recompense on your own head. Joel 3, verse 1 through 7. I wanted to show you this verse because I'm always critical of the KJV, but even the New American Standard uses words to keep the text from being clear. Well, there's some words in here where it's not clear, and I'll read that to you. If you look at Joel 3:1, it says, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem." The word they translated as fortunes is a lying translation attempting to hide the fact that God is speaking of captivity in all the nations. This is how it should be translated. "For look, in those days and in that time, when I will cause the captive of Judah and Jerusalem to return, and I will gather all the nations, and I will cause them to go down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I'll enter into judgment against them," that is the nations, "there for my people and my possession, Israel. Those they scattered among the nations, and they divided my land." So Joel is talking about a time when God redeems Israel from this second captivity just before the return of the Mashiach, that is, the true one. For those who can now see, this is an important part of end time prophecy. However, let's put things into their proper perspective. God says something through the mouth of Ezekiel that changes everything you think you know about the house of Israel. In Ezekiel 36, verse 16 through 19, it says this: "Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their own doings, by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman." In other words, they are unclean. They are unclean. Their ways were unclean. Well, what are their ways? How they thought. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed throughout the countries according to their way. He scattered them among the nations and dispersed them throughout the countries according to their way, and according to their doings I judged them. This is the word of Yahuwah that came to Ezekiel, referring to a time when the house of Israel will be scattered among the nations and dispersed throughout the countries due to their own ways rather than following the way of Yahuwah. This verse means that our ancestors, the only group in history who went into captivity in the four corners of the earth, did so not because they failed to convert to Christianity or Arian Christianity, but or including Protestant Christianity, because the Inquisition was happening in the time of the Protestants, but because they chose to they chose to deny God's way, the teaching, which is the way God thinks. Because they chose their way, God's judgment against them was to send them into captivity into all nations. And when they entered into the nations, whether they went, they profaned my holy name. When they said to them, these are the people of Yahuwah, and are gone forth out of his land. Now, this is the part of my discourse where I said, you will not be smiling. And what the word of Yahuwah says here exposes the reality that you must understand in the land of your captivity. Yahuwah stated prophetically that when the house of Israel entered into the nations where God banished them, they, the house of Israel, profaned God's holy name. How? Well, the word of Yahuwah tells us how. He says, when they said to them, that is, the nations, these are the people of the Lord, and are gone forth out of his land. Isn't it intriguing that God would send this word to the prophet Ezekiel? Well, what does it mean? It means that the same lie that profaned God's holy name when our ancestors spoke it in the nations where they were banished continues to be spoken today. We think we are Yahuwah's people because we are the descendants of our ancestors who are the descendants of ancient Israel. That is a lie, and the truth is more complex than the lies you believe. When God finally banished our ancestors, and us by extension, from the land of promise, God cut us off from being his people. That is why Yahuwah's word claims that we profane his holy name. Do you think Yahuwah is a liar? But many may think that what I am saying is not true. Therefore, by extension, you are calling God a liar, because I am repeating what Yahuwah said through the prophet Ezekiel. So Ezekiel is going to provide more evidence so we can know with certainty that Yahuwah is speaking about us. Ezekiel 32, verse 21, the very next verse. But I had pity for mine holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations, whether they went. So the word of Yahuwah lets us know who profaned his name, and it wasn't the nations. It was the house of Israel. And how did they profane his name when they said this among the nations where they were banished? These are the people of the Lord and are gone forth out of his land. Sounds like we still have that same problem today. Your leaders have convinced you that we are the people of Yahuwah. Let's continue. Therefore, say unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Lord God, I do not do this for your sakes, O Israel, O house of Israel, but for mine holy name's sake, which ye have profaned among the nations, whether ye went. Again, Ezekiel is confirming that we, the house of Israel, were the ones who profaned the name of God when we were banished throughout the nations. And then God says, and I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the nations, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. How did we profane it in the midst of them? These, when we said, and when we are saying, these are the people of the Lord and are gone forth out of his land. And the heathen, the nations, shall know that I am Yahuwah, saith Yahuwah Elohim, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. You must first know that Yahuwah will be sanctified in you for his own sake, not yours. He said that he will sanctify his great name for his holy name's sake. So your identity as a genetic child of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is irrelevant to this matter. The point that Yahuwah is making here is that before the end game, he will be considered holy in you. And when he is considered holy in you at that time, you will know that when you were banished to the nations, you were not the people of Yahuwah. That is, you will know it. I already know it since I'm the one teaching you this. Your leaders don't know it, so they are telling you lies. I'm, on the other hand, showing you the truth. The next thing you need to know is that Yahuwah made himself equal to his great name. Yahuwah and his name are one, and Yahuwah wants to sanctify his name in you. I said, make his name holy in you. I will not explain the meaning of his name or how he became one with it in this article. However, I will demonstrate that after God finishes sanctifying himself in you, the remnant of the house of Israel, Yahuwah will suddenly view you as part of his people. Yes, this takes place after he said, you profane his holy name in the nations where you were banished. And we still have that problem today. For I will take you from among the nations and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Then, after I bring you into your own land, then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. Your leaders have been telling you lies. They have been telling you that you are the people of Yahuwah. That is utterly false. Read what he said. He said he will cleanse you from your filthiness after he takes you from among the nations where you were taken captive. Well, isn't that intriguing? According to Yahuwah, you are still filthy because you are in the land of your captivity, and he hasn't taken you from the land of your captivity yet. And you are still filthy because you still believe lies. I wonder why. Perhaps it's because you continue to believe falsehoods. With what with what will Yahuwah use to cleanse you up? Water? No. Yahuwah is using water as a parabolic image. He is referring to the water of truth, that is his word. Ephesians 5:25 through 27 says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself, or present her, because she is his bride, to himself as a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy, or her or she should be holy and without blemish. But when did the word of Yahuwah that came to Ezekiel say that he will cleanse the house of Israel? He will cleanse the house of Israel once he removes them from the nations and places them in their own land. Let's continue. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh, and I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. Ezekiel 36, verses 26 through 27. Oh boy, we should discuss this one. Many of your leaders claim to possess the Spirit of God within them. If they don't believe what I am currently saying in this article, they lack the Spirit of God. A long time ago, I stopped searching for people speaking in tongues as evidence of having the Spirit of God within them. I realized that Satan can mimic that event, making it look authentic. John told us who has the Spirit of God in them. First, Yahushua said in John chapter 3, that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. And the only way that you can be born of the Spirit is by being born of God, that is, born again. This is what John says about those who are born of God. Everyone, after having been engendered of God, does not commit a sin, for his seed remains in him, and he cannot sin because he is engendered of God. 1 John 3, verse 9. With John writing this and God opening my eyes and delivering me from a very long stint of addiction to pornography, I realized that the only sign that I can trust is the life that ceases from committing sin. Similar to me, any individual who is delivered from the slavery of sin through the knowledge of the truth and has been baptized in the Spirit possesses God's Spirit within them. This individual experiences a new birth. That person also has a new heart, which is why that person will not profane God's holy and great name. That individual also knows what it means to walk in God's statutes and guard his judgments. That person also knows that Yahushua Hamashiach is God's firstborn son, Yisrael. And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your God. I will also save you from all your uncleanness, and I will call for the corn and will increase it and lay no famine upon you. Ezekiel 36:28 through 29. Isn't it amazing that once God accomplishes all the things mentioned above, the curse of lack, as stated in Deuteronomy 28, will be removed from you when you enter the land? How sweet a sound to know that we will not experience shame anymore. After God takes you from the nations, he will cleanse you, give you a new heart, put his spirit in you so you will be his people again. At that time, he will also save you from your true enemy, your uncleanness. Isn't that something? So while you are sitting in the land of your captivity, claiming that you are the people of God, profaning his name, God sees the chaos your leaders caused in this awakening by lying to you and saying, you are his people. No, I'm sorry. He doesn't see things that way. And neither does he view any person who claims to be a Christian, that is, a slave of the anointed one, as his people if they are living in sin and distorting the truth to fit their narrative. And I bet your leaders don't want you to hear what I have to say in this article, so they will attempt to mute my voice. In that matter, and in that regard, I direct all your leaders to Acts 5:34 through 39. Messing with me is one thing, but messing with God is deadly. Shalom.